How do you stay interested and on track with your meal prepping when you're trying to lose weight? Let's get into it. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Walk With Me. This is Josh here, and today we're talking all about how to keep your meal prep interesting. Now, this was actually a question coming from you guys, more specifically my father-in-law. He put a comment with a question I thought would be a big interest to all of you in the video the other week, so we are going to jump right into it. I struggle with how to make healthy lunches for the whole week all in one evening. I get on the kick of making chicken salad, but on the second day I lose interest. Any ideas? So cool to have you on here. I'm glad you've been liking the videos, Kevin. But this is something I think a lot of us struggle with in the early stages while we're still learning what foods we want to eat, what fits best into our diet. Some of us haven't really cooked before, so there's a whole level of learning how to actually cook for yourself. So I've seen versions of this come up here and there since the channel has started. So I first want to cover the issue of staying interested in the meals that you prep. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about good food versus bad food. And a lot of people thinking just because they're on a diet, they can't eat a certain food or a certain meal. Most meals out there, no matter how unhealthy, can usually be adapted to save calories. So take a burger and fries, for instance, from a restaurant. You're probably looking at 1,500 calories for that meal. But if you're making that burger at home, you can use a leaner ground beef. You can cook it with non-stick spray instead of oil. You can take off the cheese. You can use one of the billion low-calorie bun and bread options at the grocery store. And for the fries, you can bake them instead of fry them. You can dip them in mustard, which has pretty much no calories, versus ketchup, which is mostly just sugar. There are a lot of options to make a meal like that fit into your diet. That 1,500 calorie burger suddenly becomes 600 calories. So what you originally thought was just an impossible option in your diet really can work just as well as a chicken salad. And a burger and fries was an exaggerated and single example to this, but any meal that you're used to eating can be adapted to fit into your day. All of those foods are okay, but it puts the responsibility on you to learn how to fit them into your life. The lazy way out is to have that arbitrary set of rules with your diet and not to take the time to learn how to do it yourself. But these methods and strategies to change the way you eat are necessary to be able to maintain. That's why I really don't usually recommend the lower carb diets or some of the other things I had tried in the past to lose weight. Even though I lost weight while I was doing them, it was not setting me up for success in the long term. So if you're not enjoying the meals that you prep, or if you're not sure of what to eat on your diet, it's completely okay and encouraged for you to eat food that you actually enjoy and learn how to adapt it to save calories. And the more you learn, the easier it gets to adapt those recipes, and the more you learn about lower calorie foods you like or don't like. And that's where the other half of this comes in. The only way to keep it interesting beyond eating those foods that you already know you enjoy is to experiment in the kitchen and learn and try new things. So if you don't like the food that you prepped this week, no big deal. Try and make something different next week, or try and evaluate the foods that you enjoy and brainstorm ways to lower the calories. I've talked about a few resources I use for meal prepping. I'll be sure to link that video. But if you're in need of meal ideas, I have, I think, almost 20 different recipes on the channel now. And that is literally all the food I eat every day. You guys know pretty much everything I know how to cook. I've really been doing a lot of research and testing since I've upped the amount of recipe videos on the channel to try and come up with more ideas for everybody. So feel free to look through and go through those if you need some ideas, when you're going to the grocery store before you prep. But the other thing I wanted to mention when it comes to meal prep and variety, be honest with yourself. If you weren't dieting, how many different meals would you really be cycling through for your lunches? Even if you're going out to eat, how many different meals would you be getting every week? There's something to be said for a lack of variety in our eating sometimes. I like to keep usually my breakfast and lunch really repetitive and basic, and I have my dinner meals a little bit different or experimental, or when I go out to eat. But if you really think about it, you're probably only cycling through a handful of meals in your normal day-to-day life regardless of dieting. So it's a little bit of a non-answer, but something to consider. Beyond that, there are other ways to change it up, different spices, different sauces, slightly different ingredients, lots of different things you can do to give them a whole different flavor. And as far as having difficulty fitting it into your evening to prep for the whole week, a really good way for those of us that are busy to have multiple options without any extra work, start using your crock pot. I've been trying to brainstorm with some good crock pot recipes for the channel for a little while now. I only know the real basic obvious ones, just dumping some meat and spices and vegetables and letting it cook. As I come up with new ideas though, I will definitely be sharing them with everybody. But utilize something like a crock pot, make sure you're making big enough batches, and above all else, you have to prioritize your health and your weight loss if you really want to be able to get through it and stay on track and reach your goals. So it's a matter of priority. I guarantee everyone has a couple hours out of an entire week that probably gets wasted watching some mindless TV or playing games on our phones or something else. And the prepping gets quicker and easier the more you practice. So it will take a little bit longer in those early stages, but you're learning, so it won't take as long for the future. So in summary, the best way to keep it interesting and make the time for your meal prepping: 1, learn how to adapt your favorite meals and the food that you already eat to be a lower calorie version so you can fit it into your day. 2, take time and experiment in the kitchen. It's an essential tool that you'll need to know if you want to actually keep the weight off once you lose it. And 3, if you don't have the time to prep your meals, you have to make time in your life if you want to actually reach your goals. So if this helped or if you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And shout out to my father-in-law for the awesome question. Make sure if you have a question, leave it in the comments down below. We can talk about it in a future week. And subscribe if you're not already. I put these out every Monday and I put other videos out every Friday. But until next time, I will talk to you all later. Have a good one.